Good afternoon, Philadelphia. I say good afternoon, Philadelphia. Remember this day. Remember this day. And remember what I said. Breakdowns can become breakthroughs if you use them right. Breakdowns can become breakthroughs if you use them right. We are here in Philadelphia, we're here in Pennsylvania, where we have 300,000 people who are stuck in the revolving door of a broken probation and parole system. Across the country, we have 2 million people who are locked up, but there are 4 million people who are caught up in this broken revolving door of a probation and parole system that, rather than being a springboard to success, is a trapdoor into failure, and change has got to come, period. And we have a chance now, and you're going to hear from leaders from both sides of the aisle who recognize that we can do better in Pennsylvania, who recognize that it's wrong for somebody who has come out of prison, who've come out of jail, who's trying to do the right thing, to be sent back to prison for being 10 minutes late to a meeting and lose their job for being 10 minutes late, lose their home for being 10 minutes late, have their kids go back into foster care for being 10 minutes late. There are people who are going back to prison in this state for non-crimes, technical violations. Their aunt was sick and they drove to the wrong neighborhood to check on their aunt, back to prison. These are the kinds of things that have turned this state into one of I think the second largest state in the country with this problem, and yet it can be solved easily while bringing crime down, making communities safer. I am here to represent the Reform Alliance. The Reform Alliance was founded by someone named Meek Mill. Working with someone named Mike Rubin. And a friend of theirs named Jay-Z. And a few other prominent people who said enough is enough. Enough is enough. And change has to come. And change has to start someplace. And what better time than now? And what better place than here? And so you're going to hear from a bipartisan set of leaders today who have a track record of winning. The clean slate bill that was passed last year, overwhelmingly, was led by some of these same legislators. They know how to fight, they know how to win, they know how to get justice. But they recognize that last year was just the first step. And now we're going to be taking another step forward for justice. After you hear from some of the legislators involved, you're going to hear from some business leaders. And then you're going to get a chance to hear from Meek Mill. Before I bring forward Representative Harris, who's going to take over from me, I want to thank a number of organizations that have already signed up and already signed on to be a part of this movement. The Commonwealth Foundation, Americans for Prosperity, Cut 50, Justice Action Network, and the ACLU, groups from the right and from the left, groups from the Republicans and the Democrats already coming together to make sure that victory moves forward. I also want to acknowledge Representative Jordan Harris and Representative Sheryl Delozier, Representative Ed Gainey, and Representative Mike Jones, who are all going to be here. They're going to get a chance to speak and be introduced, but before they do, I want to say this. The toughest thing to do in American politics right now is to reach across the aisle. The toughest thing to do is say, I care more about the people than my party. I care more about people than politics and division and nonsense. And when you have people, yeah, that's true, you can clap for that. You can clap for that. So when we have leaders who are willing to put the people first, who are willing to come before the world and say, I don't care about right versus left, I care about right versus wrong, those leaders deserve our full attention, and our media, which I'm so proud to see you here, give them their full due. If they were up here cussing each other out, they'd get front page stories. If they had a fist fight up here, it'd be all over the news. but they're coming up here to show unity and to show purpose and to show resolve to get something done. I'm going to turn this over. Please give a tremendous round of applause, even bigger than for me, for my brother, Representative Jordan Harris.
Good afternoon. Oh, come on, that was pitiful. Good afternoon. Truly, this is a great day for us to be here. It wasn't supposed to be this cold, so anybody that got a connection with the man upstairs, can you help us out? It's a little cold, but so we are here to announce. We are here to announce a bipartisan. I have no clue. So I'm gonna start over. All right, we're gonna start over. It's a good day, right? All right. Listen. As Van said, it's often highlighted in the media the division between Democrats and Republicans, whether it's in Harrisburg or whether it's in D.C. But I've been blessed to work with legislators on both sides of the aisle that get it when it comes to the issue of criminal justice reform. And we're here today to announce a bipartisan effort to reform our state's probation and parole laws. It will go under the banner of House Bill 1925 when it is introduced. It will be co-prime sponsored by my colleague, who you'll hear from, Representative Sheryl Delozier, and myself, as well as Representatives Ed Gainey, Mike Jones, and Greg Rothman. This bipartisan piece of legislation aims to change a system that for far too long has held many of our citizens back. For far too long, probation has been the quicksand of the criminal justice system. The moment you get in, it's hard to get out, and even as hard as you try to get out, it pulls you back in. The teamwork that we see here today is an example of what we can do in Harrisburg when we put our party affiliations aside and decide that it is time for us to address real issues that affect real Pennsylvanians. In 2016, Pennsylvania had more than 112,000 people on parole. Indiana is a state that is similar in size. While we had 112,000, they only had 30,000. In Philadelphia, there are more than 44,000 people on adult parole and probation. And as many of you know, in Pennsylvania, a technical violation is any type of interaction with the police department. Whether you did it or you didn't do it, a technical violation can end you back up in prison. And what does that mean? That means that a person who may have been late to a meeting, that means a person who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And if you're, in my opinion, a Philadelphian, particularly a black male living in Philadelphia, the wrong place and the wrong time can be anywhere where you are in the city of Philadelphia. And for those reasons and those reasons alone, you could find yourself ending up back in prison. That means you'll lose your job. That means you'll lose your home. And in many instances, you'll have to start back over again. That is not what the criminal justice system was made for. That is not where probation and parole was made for. And I'm just glad that the legislators that are here today understand and they get it. They understand that it's already hard enough when someone is released from prison. It's already hard enough when someone has an interaction with the police department and the court system for them to turn their life around. We need no more stumbling blocks to keep them from becoming gainfully employed. We don't need any more stumbling blocks to keep them from becoming educated. What we need is a way to reintegrate them back into our society, take them from tax burden to taxpayer. That's what we need in Pennsylvania. More than 52% of the folks who are in our jails are there for violations, and many of them not for new crimes, but for technical violations. So we're here today to say that the time is up. The time is up for a system that oppresses people and doesn't lift them up. The time is up for our system where it was more about retaliation and not rehabilitation. And I'm just glad that there are those who are here today with us that agree. We have some of my other colleagues from Harrisburg. We have Senator Sharif Street is here, State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta. I saw Councilman Derek Green. I saw Rodney Muhammad from the NAACP. And I see many more, from Americans for Prosperity to the Commonwealth Foundation, from the ACLU to the Justice Action Network. We will get this done in Harrisburg, because not only is it the smart thing to do, but morally it's the right thing to do. I've been blessed to work with someone who gets it, and on many issues we don't agree. She's from Cumberland County, I'm from Philadelphia. She's a Democrat, I'm a Republican. But on this issue, wait. Pause. Because somebody gonna try to use that one day down the line, like, you heard it from him. No. I'm a Democrat, she's a Republican. But Sheryl Delozier gets it. And the Clean Slate Act would not be here today without her partnership. I'm proud to introduce what I call partner in reforming our criminal justice system, Representative Sheryl Delozier.
Yeah, exactly. Letting Dermody know we got a conversion. Good morning, or actually afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your time to be here. There are many things that we set off when we get elected to do in Harrisburg, and many times one of our biggest objectives is to make a change in someone's life, to make a little bit of a difference. That's why we want to be elected. We want to be elected so that we can go home to our areas and say that we made a difference, and that's what we all want to do. We all want to do that, whether you're elected or whether you're not elected. You want to make a difference each day. Well, we've been working on this issue, as Jordan was mentioning, criminal justice reform. And our criminal justice system needs to be balanced. Our criminal justice system needs some change. And we need to work together in order to make those changes. We need balance for everybody that has a role in the system. We have our law enforcement, that was perfectly timed, our law enforcement who are out there every day, and our DAs who prosecute and protect our laws. We need to stand up for our victims in our system and make sure they have a voice in our system. Laws and pass laws like Marcy's Law to make sure that our victims have a voice as well. But what we also need to do to balance the system is take a look at those that have committed a crime, serve their time, and we want them to re-enter our communities and be good citizens and part of our communities. That makes it a balance. People make mistakes, they serve their time, and when they get out, we need to do what we can to make sure that our community accepts, educates, and make sure that they are able to be good citizens once again. What we need to do when we make our changes is we need to make changes that can affect Philadelphia, but also McKean County or Potter County or where we're from in Cumberland County. It needs to be fair, balanced, and affect all of our counties and help our communities in each and every one of our counties. Reforming our probation system is very important, and it is a necessary part of our criminal justice reforms. We have too many people on probation. This means that our probation agents cannot focus on the ones that need to be focused on. We need to balance it out and make sure that our focus is where it needs to be. There are people on county probation and state probation who need supervision. They may have a drug and alcohol program or a problem, and we need to work with them, and we need to find rehab, and we need to get them clean. They may have mental health issues. They need their assistance, and they need to get help. They may be a spousal abuser or offender, but the bottom line is that there's also needs to be options. Judges don't necessarily have to send everyone back to prison. Not everyone who violates probation should go back to jail. Don't get me wrong, there are some that should, But the ones that can be worked out, that can get help, and that can do another way, we need to investigate them and make sure that they have those options. I also want to make sure that we do things with these legislations that don't have the ill effects, that don't have the bad system that we have. We need to improve what we have, not continue what it is that's not working. I'm pleased to have so many groups. As Jordan mentioned, so many different groups. We have our probation officers, we have our prosecutors, we have our DAs and our defendants. We have so many groups working on good legislation to try and make the system more balanced and more fair. As Jordan mentioned as well, we don't always have to agree on every single thing. There's not every line in this bill that I agree with. We need to work together to build consensus and build compromise. That's what this is about. Compromising with people that you may not normally agree with. There is a way that we can find the happy medium, we can find the middle, which makes our system stronger and better for our communities as a whole. But I can sit there and say that we are going to improve probation system. We're going to have fewer people actively supervised. We are going to make sure that the people who need to be supervised are and have the laser focus of our probation officers, because that's what keeps our communities safe. I want to hear from all the groups. There are so many that have input on this. I know we are all open. We were able to start the Criminal Justice Caucus. It is a bipartisan, Republicans and Democrats. It's bicameral. It's our Senate and our House members. We are looking for other ways. We are looking for so many options. And we want to hear from the people that have experience, that have ideas, and have ways to make our criminal justice system better. Working on parole and these types of changes is a step. We also have changes like Marcy's Law. We also have changes of professional licensure, that people shouldn't be barred from getting a job simply because of a morals clause. So we have many options in front of us. We have a lot of work to do, and we have a lot of changes that we want to create, because we want to go home to the people that we represent and say that we made a change that affected your life, and we're proud to do it. So we will continue working. We would like all of your support and input, and I look forward to working with all of my colleagues, Republican and Democrat, and in the House and the Senate, so that we can accomplish this and make it work better for our communities all across Pennsylvania. So with that, I thank you for the support, and I'm going to hand it off to one of my colleagues, Representative Jones.
I'll apologize in advance. I'm probably not the Mike Jones some of you would prefer to be seeing, but he's got a little more rhythm than I do. But so good afternoon, everyone. I am Mike Jones. I'm a newly elected Republican representative from York County. I want to thank Representative Harris for hosting us today, and I want to thank he and Representative Delozier for the great work they're doing on criminal justice reform. As a conservative businessman from central Pennsylvania, I'd like to speak to the economic, law enforcement, and individual liberties aspects of criminal justice reform, specifically probation reform today. In business, we work with colleagues and clients from all walks of life. And today is a good example of why I ran for office, to collaborate, work across the aisle, and actually get things done. The reforms that we are talking about are matters of fundamental fairness and common sense. Economically, we do not want to be sending people to prison unnecessarily. We have serious budgetary and workforce issues in Pennsylvania. The goal of probation should be to do everything we reasonably can to encourage those who have paid their dues and are doing the right things to become productive members of society. Every time we incarcerate an able-bodied person, we pay an economic price for doing so. Relative to law enforcement, let me just say this bill is not about law enforcement, it's about the law itself. We honor and appreciate the role that our judges, district attorneys, and parole officers play in the criminal justice system. We have and will continue to consult with them as we fine-tune the language of the bill and to create a solution that works from big city Philadelphia to York, Pennsylvania, and to the towns and suburbs that surround them. The goal is to move deserving parolees out of the system and allow those in law enforcement to focus on higher risk offenders and other more important priorities. Lastly, this bill is about opportunity. Yes, there are many egregious offenders who will not and should not ever be paroled. But that's not who we're talking about here. America truly is the land of opportunity. It is the land of second chances. And the last I checked, we've all needed a second chance somewhere in life. I know I certainly have. It's an honor to be here, and I look forward to working with Representatives Delozier and Harris as we finalize and pass this bill and offer our friends and neighbors a shot at redemption. With that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Representative Ed Gainey from Allegheny County.
Good afternoon, Philadelphia. How you doing? Come on, Philly, give it to me. I'm from the city of Pittsburgh. They told me this is the city of brotherly love. City of Philadelphia, how you doing? Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Before I say anything, can we give a big hand to my leader in the House, Representative Jordan Harris, the Democratic whip? Come on, we can do better than that. Give him a big hand. Philadelphia, today is a good day. It's a day that we come together as a Commonwealth to talk about something that for so long has plagued and injured so many people. I've often told people, we don't need criminal justice reform, we need criminal justice reconstruction. Because at the end of the day, we got to give lives back to the lives that we've taken. We have made it a way for people to enter into recidivism without elevating their skills and helping them to live a better day in America. Coming out with felonies and misdemeanors, things that prevent them from getting employment, from hindering them from getting housing. This gotta stop. If this is the American way, then we gotta change it back to the dream of America that tells everybody that you are eligible for a second chance, that in the land of the milk and honey, you can live free even after you do your sentence. Today is the day for a new beginning. Bipartisan support throughout this Commonwealth. And if we, as people, really want to put humanity first, if we really want to see the change in criminal justice, then join us at the state capitol. And let's make sure that everybody has a chance to life. Thank you. I want to introduce Gene Barr. He's coming up next.
Good afternoon. My name is Gene Barr. I'm President and CEO of the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry. We are the largest broad-based business advocacy group in Pennsylvania. Good to be back home in Philadelphia. I grew up down the road in the little borough of Upland, went to high school in the city of Chester, know the area, went to St. Joe's. Yeah, the hawk will never die, absolutely. You might wonder, why is somebody from the business community standing here talking about criminal justice? And the reason is we have far too many people who can be productive and fill the open jobs we have, as was noted earlier, can be taxpayers who we can employ. And that's what we need to do. This morning, I was very happy to be at the first meeting. I serve as one of the co-chairs of the Governor's Workforce Command Center. And one of the things we're going to do is, we're going to talk about how we make Pennsylvania's workforce more competitive. But you know what part of that is? Part of that is taking the broad cut of people who unfortunately have been frozen out of the job market, who are great people, who need to fill those jobs, who are just looking for a chance. You know, I have a friend who's in reentry, and he talks about the fact that a car breaks down and you just sit in your car, no one's going to stop and help you. But when you get out and you start pushing your car, guess what? People are going to come by and help. We need to help those people who are pushing their car and trying to move themselves and their family forward. Because the reality is, when you talk to people who have made a specific point of hiring people from reentry, and Michael Rubin is here, and Michael has made a great point of that. When I've talked to my members who have made a point of hiring people who have had reentry, they said, you know what? Not only are they good employees, in many cases they're the best employees I've got, because they've seen what's on the other side. And they know they don't want to be there. And all they want is a chance to lift themselves up, create a better life for themselves and their families. So our goal in the business community, we want to be able to hire these people. We want to knock down those barriers, whether it's licensing or whatever it is. So I give tremendous appreciation to the representative here today, including my representative from Cumberland County, Representative Delozier. I give tremendous credit to all of them, Representative Harris, Representative Delozier, the other reps, Representative Rothman, Representative Jones, Representative Gainey. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. Senator Street, I know. Did I get them all? I got them all. Thanks to all of them for their work that they're doing in Harrisburg to move Pennsylvania forward, because we can become a more competitive state. We can do it in a humane manner for people who want a chance to move ahead, and that's why the business community is here. Thank you.
Got the business community on board and everything else. I have the honor of bringing forward the next guest. You know, they talk about the city of brotherly love. But what does it mean to truly love your brother? What does it mean to truly love your brother? A lot of people say, hey brother, we don't mean it. Because when your brother gets in trouble, you're not there. What does it mean to truly love your brother? It means when somebody tries to knock your brother down, you don't let your brother fall. It means when somebody tries to knock your brother down, you stand up. And I want to bring somebody to the stage that everybody knows as a co-owner of the 76ers. That's reason to give him a round of applause. Everybody knows that he's not a poor man. But what people didn't know and what he may not have known is how much love he had in his heart when he saw his brother Meek Mill go down. I want to bring to the stage the chair of the Reform Alliance, Mike Rubin.
You know, first I want to say thank you to everybody here, because this is such a big issue, and the way to fix this issue is to bring everybody together. And everybody here has a huge part in fixing this really screwed up issue. So thank you very much for caring. Thank you very much for being here. I just whispered to Meek, a year ago, he was in prison, and now I've got all these people rallied around fixing the probation and parole issue, which is a really big one. So thank you again. The second thing is, someone just mentioned that people need a second chance. I gotta tell you something. For me, I probably need a 10th chance, an 11th chance, a 12th chance. If I only got 2 chances, I wouldn't be standing here today. That I can promise you. You know, I didn't know a thing about the criminal justice system, not a thing. And I tell people that. I tell people, you know, until November 2017, less than a year and a half ago, I thought that the criminal justice system, I thought it worked really well. I thought in 99.9% of the cases, the system was working for us. And you know what? Somebody else just said, it's not the people that are, it's not law enforcement. They're doing exactly what law enforcement, the DAs, the judges, they're doing what they think they're supposed to be doing within a system that's fundamentally broken. The problem is the system. That's what needs to be fixed, is the system. And I'll tell you again, a year and a half ago, I thought that the system worked really well in 99.9% of the cases. I could not have been more wrong. I'll tell you, now, 15 months later, I realize the system is failing as much as it's succeeding. And to me, that's something that things happen for a reason. And you know what? When Meek got sent to prison in front of me, I guess that was, and by the way, I think everybody by now knows this is a guy who got sent to prison for what? For popping a wheelie and for breaking up a fight where there were no charges in either situation. And he got sent to prison for 2 to 4 years for essentially doing nothing. I could do that 500 times and no one would say a thing to me. But Meek got sent to prison for 2 to 4 years. And you know what? To me, that was Meek's sacrifice. That was a great thing, because at the end of the day, we're going to turn that travesty into a real positive, and we're going to figure out how to fix the system. Now, I'll tell you something. There are so many great people that are focused on fixing the criminal justice system, but the part of the system that's the most broken is actually what Van talked about is the probation and parole system. That's 2/3 of the people in the system, in the criminal justice system, are on probation and parole. 4.5 million Americans are on probation and parole. And what I never believed it, and Meek and I have had so many debates about this, I never believed that you could get sent to prison for not committing a crime. But so many people go to prison for not committing a crime. And Meek's gone to prison 3 times for not committing a crime. And that's the part of the system that we need to fix. By the way, there's lots of people that do belong going to prison. And you know what? I want to live in a safe community, and all of us want to live in a safe community. And you know what? I feel bad for that part of the environment that, you know, that ends up, that does bad things, and it has to be part of the system. But there are so many people that are in the system that should not be in the system, that go to prison and jail for not committing a crime. And that's what we're so focused on fixing. You know, the reality is this problem, it's Meek who introduced me to this problem, but the problem is so much bigger than him. I originally thought this was about one bad judge, and that was it. And what I realized, again, is that the system that we need to fix. November 6th for me, November 6, 2017, that was the moment being in that courtroom. That's a moment that I will remember for the rest of my life, probably the moment that I remember more than any other moment, watching a good friend of mine, a brother of mine, go to prison again for not committing a crime. And for us, I believe we're gonna make a real positive from that. Now I'll tell you, I think most people know I'm a business person, I'm an entrepreneur. Well, that's none of the reason that makes me want to fix this problem. I look at just right and wrong. We need to do right and wrong, and that's why we need to fix this problem. But there's also economics behind this. We're spending $200 million in Pennsylvania on probation and parole. I want to take that money and spend it in far better places. And by the way, there are many people that do need to be on probation and parole. But I bet you in Pennsylvania, we have 300,000 people on probation and parole. You could cut that number back by 1/3, by 50%, while keeping communities equally safe. And by the way, think about this. I want to have a great economy. The way to have a great economy is to have people that aren't on probation. As an employer, we're worried about those people getting fired because, or I'm sorry, not fired. We're worried about those people going back to prison for the smallest thing. We want those people being successful members of our workforce. So I think we have a giant opportunity in front of us. Again, I appreciate all of you being here. And with that, I want to introduce Meek Mill.
I would like to thank everybody for coming out and supporting this situation. Thank you. You know, I always say I speak for the people who don't have a voice. I know you see many young men that look like myself in the crowd. A lot of people come in and out of this building, the probation building. Like I said, it's a lot of laws and statutes that don't actually make sense for people that look like myself. One of them is if you're around a felon, you could be sent back to prison. Any felons in here right now? Basically, right now, you could be put in technical violation for just being around a felon. You could be in technical violation for not paying your fines and dues, showing up to your probation officer late. I was falsely accused of a crime in 2007. I did almost up to 3 years in prison. Skipped that. I actually got on in the music business, made a lot of money for myself, and overcame a lot of obstacles coming from the ghettos of Philadelphia. And I've been doing well myself. I'm still on bail. I'm on probation, and you know, Mike, he said he never heard of nobody getting 2 to 4 years for a technical violation. I'm around people that look like they've been experiencing this, or they have a family member. That's just normal in our days of life where people lose their jobs, lose their homes for not even committing crime. Police contact, you get, I don't know if you know what police contact is, you could actually get pulled over by a police officer and lose your freedom, go to jail for 2 to 4 years or whatever the rest of your probation term is. And you know, I'm just here to speak for the ones who don't have a voice, because I hate it had to be me to go to jail, a rapper or a public figure to go to jail for it becoming an issue, but it is an issue, and this is where we at. And I decided to use my time, my platform, and my energy to speak for people who don't have a voice. And you know, I could be sitting in jail I could be sitting in jail doing a 2 to 4 year sentence, maybe playing ping pong or chess, but instead I'm hiring people. I'm giving back to my community. I'm making a lot of money. I'm paying my taxes. I'm taking care of my families. And probation, I grew up in Philadelphia, the early 90s, and late 80s, where, you know, a lot of our fathers were in prison. And, you know, I was actually one of the babies who grew up without a father in the house. And I think that's a big start on kids growing up with fathers in the house. And, you know, they're sending people to prison with police contact and the things I mentioned before. You know, I'm trying to get the cycle going of people having mothers and fathers in the house, and we shouldn't have technical violations being aware that. My son's 7 years old. I was locked up when he was 6 years old, sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison, where basically I could have spent 4 years in prison out of my son's life. And my son came to see me and asked me what I was arrested for. I had to tell him, popping a willie, and he could never understand it. And like Mike said, someone like himself could pop willies 100 times, but beyond myself, I'm only here to use my platform and my voice to speak for the people who don't have a voice. It's a lot of young men actually locked behind them walls and stacked up with probation and trying to do well with themselves and move forward, but they can't because the odds are so great against them. So, you know, I just want to use my voice, and thank you for everybody that's here supporting. Thank y'all.
First of all, give my brother a round of applause one more time. So many artists get in trouble. They call a lawyer, they get out of it. You never hear from him again. He's doing more than you know to make this thing real. I want to make sure before he leaves, we get all the representatives back up on the stage so we can take a photograph and let the world know we're coming together, different races, different political parties, different professions, all standing together for reform.